In a world of fleeting moments and forgotten lore, Ilara was an anchor. Her mind was a fortress of perfect recall, her hands capable of charting not just the land, but the very flow of time upon it. They called her the map minder, the one who never forgot. And it was this gift that would lead her to a place where everything was forgotten. The summons arrived with the storm. It spoke not of conquest or treasure, but of a desperate, silent plea from the royal house of Althoria. Their home, the legendary fading castle, was sick, and the king believed Ilara was the only one who could diagnose the illness. Castle Althoria. It was said to have been built from solidified moonlight and living stone. But as Ilara approached, she saw the truth. The magic was unraveling. The castle wasn't just fading, it was actively forgetting itself with every pulse of the dawn's light. The moment she stepped inside, the chaos was palpable. It was a symphony of dislocation. Hallways twisted into impossible knots, doors opened into solid rock, and the very air hummed with a dizzying sense of loss. This was not a structure, it was a dream falling apart. And in the heart of this confusion was Prince Valerius. The curse had stolen more than just his home. It had chipped away at his identity. He knew he was a prince. He felt the weight of a crown he couldn't see, but his own name was a half-remembered whisper on his lips. "The sun has just risen," he told her, his voice rough with disuse. "You have until it sets. Map our home. Find the source of the curse. Please, help us remember who we are." Ilara knew this was more than a commission. It was a rescue mission. Her work began. With a piece of enchanted charcoal that could capture a moment in time, she drew. Her mind was a steel trap, capturing every detail before it could vanish. The length of a hall, the curve of an arch, the scent of jasmine from a garden that might not be there in the next minute. The castle fought back. It was a living labyrinth, and it did not want to be solved. A path she had just walked would vanish behind her. A room she had memorized would seal itself off. It was a race against a constantly resetting clock. The prince followed her, a ghost in his own home. He was her only guide, yet his memory was a broken compass. This was the library, he would murmur, pointing to a wall that was now a roaring waterfall. Each failure was a fresh wound to his fractured spirit. And then she saw it, a flicker of movement in the corner of her eye, a glint of mischievous magic. It was a sprite, a being of pure whim and forgotten stories. She realized the castle wasn't just randomly changing, it was being changed. The chaos had a creator. This changed everything. She wasn't just mapping a place, she was mapping a personality. The sprite's mischief had a pattern, a rhythm. It favored bright colors, twisting paths, and places of play. The castle was its sandbox. She started to predict its movements. If it turned the kitchens into a swamp, it will likely turn the armory into a field of flowers next, she reasoned. She was no longer just reacting, she was anticipating. The map grew faster, more accurate. "I remember a song," he whispered, so quietly Ilara almost missed it. "My mother, she sang it in a room with a rocking horse." It was the first solid piece of memory he had offered, a tiny island in an ocean of forgetting. A rocking horse, a nursery. The sprite's magic was playful, childlike. It all connected. The castle's heart, the source of the curse, had to be where its most precious memories were born, the royal nursery. The map showed her where it should be. But time was her greatest enemy. The sun was beginning its descent, and with the fading light, the castle's shifts became more violent, more desperate. The sprite sensed she was getting closer. The path was blocked. A chasm, deep and absolute, separated them from their goal. The sprite hovered before them, no longer mischievous, but fearful. It was protecting something, guarding its last memory. Ilara knew force would not work. She had to use her own magic, memory. She tore a piece from her map, a drawing of the serene, stable garden from this morning, and folded it into a bird. She filled it with the memory of that piece. She sent the memory across the void. The paper bird, glowing with captured sunlight, soared over the chasm. And where it flew, a bridge of solid light unfurled, woven from a moment of stability and calm. It was a path the sprite could not erase, for it was made of a good memory. They crossed the bridge and stepped into the nursery. The air was thick with ancient sadness. This was the one room the castle had not dared to change. It was a perfect, heartbreaking time capsule. And there, at the very heart of the room and the castle, was the source. Not a dark relic or a malevolent jewel, but a child's music box. It was the anchor for the sprite's magic and the prison for all the castle's memories. The sprite appeared before them, its form wavering. It wasn't a monster, it was a guardian, a lonely playmate to a little princess who had fallen ill and faded from the world centuries ago. The sprite was her only friend, left behind. The curse wasn't one of malice, it was one of grief. To stop the castle from forgetting the princess, the sprite had made it forget everything else, locking it in an endless game of hide and seek, hoping its playmate would one day return. Valerius, drawn by a force he couldn't name, touched the music box. A melody tinkled out, faint but familiar. It was the lullaby, the one his mother had sung, the one her mother had sung. It was the song of his family. Ilara knew what she had to do. Destroying the music box would be like destroying the sprite's heart. Instead, she offered it a new memory, not one of chaos, but of order. "You don't have to make it forget," she said softly. "You can help it remember." His sprite placed a tiny, shimmering hand on the vellum. It saw the castle not as a playground of chaos, but as a beautiful, complete home. It saw all the stories, all the lives lived within its walls. It saw a new purpose, not to hide the past, but to preserve it. The prince began to hum the lullaby, his voice growing stronger with every note. The melody, combined with the map's perfect memory, overloaded the curse of forgetting with a wave of pure remembrance. The spell broke. Throughout the castle, the chaos ceased. Walls solidified, rooms returned to their rightful places. The dizzying hum of magic was replaced by a gentle, peaceful silence. The fading castle was fading no more. And with the castle, its people remembered. The blur in their minds sharpened into focus. The prince stood tall, the weight on his soul lifted. He remembered his name, his family, his duty. He remembered everything. The sprite was not banished. It became the castle's keeper, a guardian of its history, its light now a beacon of memory instead of an engine of chaos. It had found a new, better game to play. Ilara left not just with a reward, but with a new understanding that the strongest magic is not in what we can build or change, but in what we choose to remember, and that sometimes the only way to fix what is broken is to show it a map of what it was always meant to be. The end. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.